Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the news behind the news with Ralph Cantava on Mix 94.7 FM. And today we're gonna continue along with our conversations with some of our young professionals here in St. Martin. I have here with me Miss Shammara Tula.
Jean-Pierre.
Oh, sorry, Shammara Jean-Pierre from Tula Designs, which is a construction company. And I basically invited her to talk about, what it's like being in the industry, being in the field of construction, especially, as a woman. But of course, also because, as we know, with the pandemic came the rise in all sorts of products, especially construction products. And that is an industry that, is very important for St. Martin. So to start off, I guess, could you tell us a bit about yourself and then we continue from there?
Okay, my name is Shammara Jean-Pierre. I am the Managing Director of Tula Design and Construction. The company was established in 2015, 2 years shy of Irma. So we got in just in time to experience, the tragedy. Our company is aimed at creating affordable homes. Our target is the average working person. We are looking in the future also to target low-income families. I think that's about it in a nutshell. We do condo projects. Condominiums is my main product.
Mm-hmm.
All our condos are sold under 200,000 because that's a mark that we've kind of made over the years. We've established to be that the average person can afford.
Gotcha.
The average, yeah. So we established that at 200,000. So none of my homes are ever sold over 200,000.
And how many bedrooms?
We've managed to do 3 bedrooms for that price.
Wow.
We've done 2 bedrooms for 150. We've done 1 bedrooms for like 80-something thousand. But our cap is 200. Even when we build homes for persons also come to us to build their homes. They would go through the process of getting their loans and so forth. Even then, we always try to keep our prices very affordable. And we try to maintain that cap. But in terms of building for people, that can change because, of course, they have different desires and different things that they would like. So it can change there. But for the products that I build and sell as part of my project itself, my condos, they're completely turnkey. So when I'm finished, you get your keys to move in.
Wow.
And they're all under 200.
Interesting.
To meet that market.
And have you always had an interest in being in business? And what was it that made you decide, I want to get into the construction field in particular?
Well, I grew up in a very poor family. And one of the things I always said when I grew up, I never dreamed of building a home. I always dreamed of building an apartment. Because I said if I build an apartment building, the apartment building will kind of pay for itself. And I would never, if you build a home, then you have to worry about mortgage. You always have to be working. So I always told myself I want to build an apartment building. And God was on my side. And when I was 22, I believe, I had already saved up to purchase my land.
Wow.
And I went for a mortgage and I started to build my apartment building. And I went through hell. Everything that you can imagine could have gone wrong, went wrong. And I I built 2 apartments and I told myself the process it's not supposed to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I got through, I got the first 2 done. And when I was going to do my second 2, I got more involved in the process, started to understand how it's done and so forth. And when I was building my last 2, I did it myself. And back then, I think I was like 25, 26, and I did those last 2 by myself.
Wow.
I went through the whole process, And it was so much easier than when I just gave it to the professionals to do for me.
Yeah, yeah.
And another thing that I experienced in this field, as a female, if you don't know, they take advantage of you.
Yeah.
Big time. So that kind of gave me the nudge even back then. The field was interesting to me. And later down, I bought a piece of land in Valley Estate. I think that was back in 2015. We bought a property there. And the original intention wasn't to do what we did, but that's the path I was guided on. And Tula was established. We built our first set of townhouses back then. And yeah, it's been history since then.
Taken off since then.
Taken off since then.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting.
I tell people sometimes I feel I got into the field by accident. I say that sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel I just fell into the field, but I absolutely love it.
But a lot of people, especially after Irma, unfortunately, have so many horror stories with building and reconstruction.
Yeah, but what happened after Irma was we had such a high demand. Like I said, my company was established just in time for me to experience the horror. Because what happened after Irma, construction was so in demand because we had so much damage that any and everybody just pick up a hammer and there was a contractor.
Yeah.
You know, so I do know of a lot of people that had real horrible experiences in that aspect.
But in addition to that, and what makes your story so interesting is that this is not just all you do, because you also...
I'm an accountant.
Yeah,
yes.
you're also an accountant. That's a job that requires a lot of your brain muscles, basically. So how do you manage that? And what was it like, starting a business and managing work?
But here's the thing, accounting and numbers is my passion, so it's not even like a job to me. I absolutely love accounting. I've always loved anything associated with numbers. I am a boss when it comes to numbers.
Okay, respect on that.
Yeah, so I absolutely love it. So it's not a job to me. I really love doing it.
Okay.
And then recently, like I tell people, construction, I think the only thing that I absolutely hear about construction is the sun. Other than that, I love every aspect of it. I love dealing with the guys. I love the whole process of seeing something go from dirt to something you created. I love it.
Yeah.
Is it like a God complex?
Well, I mean, we were made an identity of God, right?
Yes.
So we are creators. God is a creator.
I love it. So I'm actually doing two things that I love, and I cannot see myself ever giving up one for the next.
Gotcha.
So I'm kind of stuck here.
And I guess that the former you also do in your business too.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha. And so speaking of that then, what were some of the tough business lessons that you had to learn early on?
Some tough business lessons. The whole construction company has been a learning experience for me. You learn something new with every project. Like I said, for Irma taught me so much because I had to work with a very poor labor force at that time, so you see so many errors happen, so many things you have to fix. So post Irma was one of my roughest times. A lot of mistakes were made. You see a lot of learning happen, post Irma. But with every project, I do learn something new. I do learn something different. It's always a different experience. My first townhouse was just 2 units. Then after that, the second I did was 8 units.
Wow.
Flat roof. Then I did one where the roof was sloped, so you learn to slope concrete. You learn to, it's always something new, and I always want to try something new and learn something different.
Yeah.
So it's really an exciting feel in and of itself, and yeah, I'm always learning. I've come a long way. I know a lot when it comes to this field now, but I still feel there's so much more that I still have to learn.
Yeah, of course.
As I go.
Great. And so, because I'm curious about, your process of learning about the construction itself, because I did see that I think you got like a certificate from NEPA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that was a concrete course we did.
Okay.
Where it taught you basically the different components of concrete and how to do.
But the overall process,
I'm self-taught.
Yeah.
I'm self-taught.
YouTube University?
Sorry?
YouTube University?
Basically.
Okay.
Yeah, and what you do is you kind of take a combination, because you can't even just take YouTube. Because I'm exposed to guys, for example, my foremans and so forth, that really I experience on the road. And then you take the book knowledge that you have and you kind of make a combination. Because there are certain things I would tell them, no, this is how it's supposed to go. And I would tell you, we're customer doing it this way. And then you have to kind of find a middle ground. Sometimes the things that you learn in the book doesn't really work practical sometimes. Sometimes you have to make certain adjustments. So I would say my knowledge is based on a combination of me being self-taught and the exposure to my experienced guys.
Gotcha. Okay. And what about management then, in terms of managing people? Because
I'm the whole management team.
but I couldn't, and I can imagine how tough that is. Being in business as well. But just for managing people is never easy, and you're dealing with one young woman, in the construction field. And these guys, may feel like, what's she telling me about, concrete or nails and wood and whatnot? So how is that process like?
It's A little tough in the beginning, but I think I kind of got past that. I think I reached a point with them where they kind of know where my knowledge is. They kind of know where we are. There's still certain things that I would go to certain of my guys. So like, what do you think about this? Kind of to bounce knowledge back and forth. But I think that we've reached a point now where my knowledge is respected, which wasn't always the case.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You know, but now it's, I think I'm at a comfortable point with that now. I tell people I really feel like I'm one of the guys. I don't feel out of place at all in any of my project. I don't feel out of place at all in the field. I actually believe I have some advantages because I'm female.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, your work advantage, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. Okay. So as far as building affordable homes, now, you made my eyes open with the 200,000 mark, especially even touching a 3-bedroom home. How is that like? How, I guess, in terms of dealing with the challenges in, being able to deliver at that price point?
Well, for me, the main driving point behind higher prices on the island, I believed to be land. So I've always said, if you can split the cost of the land over 8 units, then you kind of, because land is crazy expensive here now. It's pretty much out of control, if you ask me. But if you can split that cost over 8 different people, then you're looking at 20-something thousand a person for land, then you have a lot more that you can build with. That's why I even try to encourage, I brought several families together and try to encourage people, families then, or good friends, to buy land together. You can buy a land together, get it split. We have legal ways of splitting properties here. You can even build together and do a split thing after, where you legally split it. Each of you own your property legally, separately. But because of, again, the income here on the island, a lot of people don't qualify to do certain things on their own. So we can do it as groups. And if you do
group
something,
economics.
Yeah, if you do it as a group, for example, if I can get a family of 3 each making minimum wage, I can build you a house. And I can build you something that each of you can get your own section, your own legal section in it. So later today or tomorrow, if there's a dispute, that's legally mine, this part is legally yours, so it's not that you intertwine with this person forever. But it has worked in some cases where I have managed to encourage certain people to do that. So I have friends that have bought land together, and then what they do after is they do a split thing, and then they split the land and each build on an individual part. So, for example, the land is $130,000. Each of you only pay $65,000 for your land, which doesn't exist right now.
Basically.
You understand?
Yeah.
I've also had persons that have done the whole process together. So they buy the land and they build together. So they build like a duplex, and then they legally split the duplex. So there's different ways of getting around it, even though because a lot of people don't like the condo idea, because it's an apartment. We're accustomed of having our yard and our,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
A lot
true.
of people don't like the condo idea.
But you notice that the change in the reality. The reality is that unless you could afford it, it's something that you probably can't expect.
And another thing too is because I target the local market, all of my condos have a yard space.
Smart.
All of them, because I know we need outside space.
Yeah,
we need to be out there. We have to hang our clothes outside.
Yes.
We have to have a little garden. So all of my condos come with an outside space.
Nice. Yeah. That's pretty interesting. And as far as building, then, how is that process like? And what type of hurdles do you have to overcome?
Well, with COVID right now, material has skyrocketed, as you mentioned earlier. So it is an adjustment. I have not... you are affected by the rise. You can't hide from it. But I still try to see areas where you can kind of mitigate kind of bench the loss on certain areas. So my prices still stay within. Because, for example, if I could have done a condo, I did a 3-bedroom condo in the past for $190. Now I might have to go up to probably a $195, $198. But I still kind of keep it within that mark, because I still had a gap there that I could have filled in.
But then, I mean, the bottom line is still looking at...
It's going to go up.
Looking at where your market is, it's, I mean, definitely encouraging still. Yeah, interesting. So, one of the things you just said, and that it's a reality, is the regulation factor. How do you see that being a possibility?
What do you mean, the material?
Well, no, material is that's kind of hard to control. But as far as the real estate industry,
Real estate is supply and demand, huh?
mm.
So regulating it, I can see how. It's really a supply and demand factor. And there's a demand. So
Gotcha.
I don't see how. Because if you have properties that are appraised at certain value, for example, a property that's raised at 60,000, and this guy telling he's selling it for 90, and he's getting it sold for 90 because
There is just
they
somebody's
want it.
willing to pay
Yep.
top dollar, basically.
Yep.
Gotcha. So one of the things that come to mind, even as with products are skyrocketing, what exactly are those products you've noticed?
Everything. Everything. Literally. You would go into Ace, Koiman, and you would see everything has shifted up. From lumber, steel, we went from steel being somewhere around $630 to $1,000 something this year. We went from ply form being $25, $28 to $55 this year. So listen, screws, anything you can think of was touched by COVID. Literally, you just see across the board. So it's an adjustment, and like I said, it hasn't. I don't even think the full impact has hit yet.
Yeah, you basically just seen the start.
I don't think the full impact has hit yet, but across the board, everything has risen.
Gotcha. So what comes to mind is basically the process of building itself. When you're about to build, of course, you need permits and all of that, and that's something actually that you offer within. I guess your package or with your company. And can you detail what that's like?
Okay, so we can guide you through the entire process, from acquiring the land, permits, plans. We don't draw ourselves. We don't have architects in my team, but we do work with local architects. So we can actually guide you through the whole process. I have persons that call sometimes, and they just kind of want like the guidelines. What do I have to do first? So I always tell persons, when you're starting to look for a home, the first thing you need to do is start bank shopping. You go to each bank, because every bank rate is different. Every bank has different policies, different packages in place. So you would see that you qualify for different amounts at different banks. Terms are different. So I tell them bank shop first, know what your price point is. And then when you know that, then you go to the market. A lot of people start to look for the house first, and then they go to the bank. Always go to the bank first, so I know, okay, I qualify for 150, so that's what I can look for in the market. And once you know where you are, you find if it's land, then you have to go to the process of permits, plans. You have to get estimates, going through the bank process of qualifying. And like I said, that's something that
the notary and cadastre.
The notary, cadastre. That's something we can guide you through the entire process of doing.
But I'm sure that also takes a while in itself.
Yeah, because everything is a process. Yeah, the banks, and again, the experience is different for everybody. So I really always try to encourage people. I know people that get notary within 2 weeks. I know people that can't get it for a month. I know people that go to Vrami in 3 months, they have a permit. I know people that go in 6 months, they don't have it yet. So the experience is really different for everybody. But I always encourage. I have had some people that I'm working with, and they get so frustrated, and they say, you know what, I'm just going to leave it alone. It's taking too long. It's too frustrating, But I always encourage people.
Stick with it.
Stick with it. I think in the end, it's worth it.
Yeah, because I think you are really a great example of determination. I say that honestly because, the fact that in your early 20s, you were able to save and establish yourself, with an apartment. There are people much older, who are still hoping to have that as a dream.
I used to work ADT. It was a night shift. I was an operator, 7 in the night to 7 in the morning. And I would go to casino from 10 in the morning to 6 in the afternoon. That was my day. So 7 to 7 at night, 10 to 6 in the morning. There was almost no sleeping time.
Oh, basically.
You understand? And I did that because I had my goal. I know what I wanted to achieve.
And you went to sacrifice.
That's right.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So in the midst of that, then how was it like? Because, professionally accounting, how was it like? And then dealing with work, school, and still keeping that vision in mind.
Yeah. School came when I left high school. I had a little grace where I worked the shifts that I just explained, And then once I started to work only in the day, then I started to factor in school. So I did my associate at USM, and I did my bachelor's via USM with the University of Curacao.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, great. In high school, you went to
St. Martin Academy.
Great job. So, yeah, what comes to mind, as we're talking, then, is of course factoring the boom that we saw after Irma competition. What is the market like? And I guess, you've now worked your way and established yourself. But what can you say of the overall construction industry?
The boom doesn't threaten me. It's never done, because I tell myself, I am what? We're in 2021. So I'm like 5 years in the market now. There's people who have been there for decades. There's those that are way better than me. There's prices that are... But I haven't seen much prices better than mine, to be honest. But, there's so many different things being offered in the market. And what I offer might not cater to you. What someone else offers might be. So I just kind of focus on what I do and target my market. And so far I've been very successful at that. I get a lot of referrals. And I tell people that I work with or work for, I always say, I am not offering perfection. But when I finish your product, I do my best to make sure you have a product that you will tell your friend and you will tell your neighbor. So even if an error happens or a situation occurs, I always go out of my way to make sure that I leave you happy. That is generally my objective.
Your policy, yeah.
Yeah, we live in an island of 37 square miles. Reference is everything. Referrals are everything, And my projects now are almost 50% referrals. Everyone that comes to me was referred by somebody, So the outside market, I tend not to even look at it, to be honest. I kind of just have my focus
on your own. Yeah, it makes sense. That reminds me of something I always remember from Jeff Bezos when he said, when I was listening to an interview of his, and the interviewer asked about his thoughts on competition, and he said, well, at the end of the day, your customers who pays you, not your competition.
That's right.
So if you focus on your competition, then you're losing money.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So I do know that with one of your projects, you have an arrangement with one of the local banks, basically.
I work exclusively with local banks for my condo projects.
Okay. How was that like? Particularly as a local developer, and making that arrangement and as a boost to your business. I cannot remember exactly how it happened, but I remember going to them with my portfolio. I don't remember if I was referred initially, but I met with that team back after I did my first townhouse project. And I just basically went in and I kind of explained what it is my intention was, what I wanted to do, what my target was. And at the time, they had what they called a young professional was their target group. And for them, young professional, they described as, young people of St. Martin that is contributing back to our economy, our nurses, our doctors, our government workers, government-owned companies. That was their target at the time. And for me, that was the middle-class society as well, which is I find was a market that nobody wasn't targeting. Again, like I said, I did some research and I found that we had to own a home, you basically had to be married. You needed those two incomes to qualify, So at the time, they had this project called Young Professionals, and it kind of fit with what I wanted to target. So we had a meeting. I tell people every day, I walked out of that meeting that day and I was blown away. I was like, I didn't know what just happened. We bonded, and up to today I have a great relationship with them. We are now going on our third project together. We did 8 units first, which was, we had some 2 bedrooms, 1 bedroom, and 3. And we just finished 6 3-bedrooms. And now we're going into another project that we're currently advertising. Okay.
So it's been a great relationship, and I really love them that they are open to local developers, and they're really open to motivating you and the whole process. It's really a great company, really a great.
Okay. What would you say are the other factors that lead to or the spike in cost in developing homes? For example, perhaps building in a hilly terrain.
Oh yeah, well, and that's the only places we have land left, pretty much. Yeah. So if you're building, like for example, where I've built my condos, we're building in Valley Estate. Um, the price per square meter up there is great, but you're gonna pay the cost for retaining walls. You're gonna pay the cost for excavation. Trucking is also a factor. So I also tell people when you buy land, you also have to take those things into consideration because flat land is scarce, very scarce. So the hills is where we are building now. So you have to keep those things in mind. Retaining walls cost a lot. You move in a truck of dirt, you're paying at least $100 to move a truck, and then you might have to move a couple dozen trucks, you know. So yeah, you got to keep those factors in mind.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so my final question for you would basically be, what would you say is the project that still stands out to you the most, and why?
The one post Irma. I think it was my biggest learning tool. Yeah, you really got. Like I said, it was the most challenging, but I still look at it as my first project. Although it was the second, because the first one kind of went smooth, but this one it was my learning tool. It was really my learning tool.
You felt like the one that gave you the stripes, basically.
Yeah. I'd say everything that could have went wrong. Yeah, that one was my learning tool, and then I see it now that I finishing off this third one that we did, and it went like that, you know. But that one person, Omar. Yeah, but I know the factors that led to it. Like I said, we had very poor manpower at the time, and yeah. I learned everything from the foundation to the roof. It was just a complete learning experience. A painful, long learning experience.
That was basically your MBA course, basically.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
cool.
Yes.
All right. So, is there any final thing you would like to share?
Just for anyone that's interested in owning a home, it's a beautiful goal. And it is challenging, whether you come with me or you go with any other contractor or you go with Orco or any other bank. It's a process. And like I said, I have lost a few along the way that just get frustrated and just leave it alone. I have people that have hang on for a year, 2 years with banks, between banks and notaries and documents expiring. You got to get more. But stick in there. If it's a goal that you have, I think home ownership is beautiful. And I think that is something that you should just be ambitious and go for.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ms. Shammara, Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre.
Perfect. Appreciate the discussion. And to our listeners, I also hope that you got some key takeaways from this conversation. And do take care.